Hello, Unity community, and welcome back to another official Unity live stream here on twitch.tv/Unity, as well as the official Unity YouTube page. My name is Jackson. I am one of your community managers, and it is my job to bring you all of the live stream content on these channels. We are live every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 a.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. GMT. And in the month of May, we'll also be live on Tuesdays as well. We got a lot of fun content day in and day out. So please come and join us whenever you're able to. And thank you so very much for being here on this beautiful 6.1 release day. We've got a fantastic show for you all as we are bringing in the tippity top of the crop. We are bringing in the head honchos to tell you all about what's new and exciting in 6.1. We are very excited to bring the crew together and give you all an opportunity to interact with them directly. We're going to go through what's new and exciting. We're going to talk about the release and support cadence moving forward. We're going to talk about platform reach. We're going to talk about new features. Throughout the entire show, if you have questions, please let us know. We will do our best to find an opportunity to bring them to the team. However, if you are unable to get your questions answered here, if you would like to follow up, if it takes a minute for you to kind of digest all of the information today, we will be having a follow-up Q&A on the discussions page. We're putting that link in the chat right now, so keep an eye out for that. And again, thank you to everybody joining us, seeing everybody tuning in from all over the world: Indonesia, New York, Palestine, South Africa, Brazil. Everybody, thank you so very much for being here. Always a good time to connect with the Unity community. Again, we're making content here every single week. The intention is to connect and entertain you all by giving you content that is informational and inspirational. So, lots of exciting things, and I hope to see you all again in the near future. But, of course, it is 6.1 release day. If you would like to go and check out more information, I say more than I've given you so far, but maybe not as much as you're going to get in the next hour and a bit here, please go and check out the blog on the Unity page. That link is available for you in the chat as well. Of course, it is a good thing to remind you all that this is a live stream and this is a conversation. So if you have any questions, please ask them. You guys are here live. This is meant to be a conversation. If you are watching after the fact as a VOD, please take a look down at that navigation bar, as it will be conveniently chaptered for you to jump around to all of the areas that most interest you. That's kind of everything that I need to get through for housekeeping. So I think it's about time that we bring on a couple of guests. We've got, like I said, the people with all the information, most of the information. No one has all the information. But please welcome to the show our first two guests. We'll be bringing out a third one later in the show. Don't worry. But everyone say hey to Adam and James. Adam and James, welcome on in, you two. How are you?
Hello. Good. Thank you very much.
Good.
Hey, Jackson.
James, great to have you back.
Again.
Yeah, of course, right? James, of course, if you Unity community have been around for a little while, James was with us for the Unity 6 launch stream as well. That was a 6-hour live stream, 6 hours of Unity 6. And Inside Baseball, they came to me and they said, what if we do 61 hours of live streams for 6.1? And I said no. So here we are with a not 6-hour live stream or 61 hours. But welcome back. Welcome back. James, I know you've been here before. Adam, is this your first time on a Unity live stream at all, or just in the time that I've been here?
No, this is the first time, so thank you for having me. So exciting to be with you in the community today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. James, let's get started with you. But again, one of the big things that we do here with the live streams is kind of connecting you all with the community and giving people this opportunity to get to know you a little bit more as well. James, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Unity, and then take a step further back and give us a picture of like your career and your life as a game dev and those types of things?
It was a stormy day in 1990. So I'm James. Hi, I work in our UK office. I'm based in Brighton, in sunny Brighton in the south of UK. Been with Unity for, this is my 7th year at Unity now. I look after the technical product management for all of our platforms at Unity. So that's everywhere that Unity runs as either an editor or a runtime. So that encompasses like mobile, desktop, consoles, web, vehicles, streaming, you name it, everywhere where we have a runtime. Super excited to be back. Super excited for the launch. It's always great to be here for a launch with stuff we've been working on for under the hood for a while and be able to talk about it. So it's always good. And before Unity, and still am, I'm a game dev, solo indie dev. I've made games on pretty much every platform in Unity, but I was mostly a console game developer. Still try to make games. I don't get to do as much of it these days as I like, but I'm still working on one now. My games are mostly terrible, but I enjoy them. Yeah, they've. I'm still proud of the work I do, and I'm proud of the games I make. But yeah, keep wanting to make more, as always.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about what you're working on right now? And then we can tell you that it's probably not terrible. Like, you also don't have to, but just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I'm going back to my old school roots. Like I'm old, so I started programming on the Amstrad CPC 464 for anyone in the stream who's old enough to remember.
Show of hands.
The only person
who knows that one.
And so, yeah, I like old school pixel art, like arcade, simple style games. So I'm basically making another sort of 4-player couch co-op, because that's what I grew up doing with my friends, is playing couch co-op games. I like to choose genres that will never sell, because they're in those small minority genres. But I just love making like co-op battle games that you can play with your friends over pizza and beer. I just don't think there's any more fun to be had. Yeah,
I think there needs to be a return to form with those couch co-ops, specific experiences. And also, listening to you describe your game development history, it sounds like you really like to play on hard mode, and I think that's admirable.
I might be a bit of a fan of the difficult games. Yes.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, listen, I think what's fun when we bring people on streams is also exploring their space. Do you want to talk about your posters as well before we really get in?
Yeah, yes, I am a Dark Souls and all Souls fanatic game. Yeah. In fact, I was joking that one of the people who works at our Unity office has come from FromSoft and saw my tattoos of all of my praise the sun, and everybody was like, wow, you really like these games in a sort of that's really creepy kind of way. But yeah, I'm fairly obsessed. I relax by playing Dark Souls. There is nothing better than walking into Undead Burg and I'm like, yeah, that's my happy place.
That's my jam.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's great. Uninstaller had actually asked, as we started to talk about it, what is your favorite game? So I'm glad that we were able to knock that one out. But James, welcome back again. Chat, those of you just joining us, we're hanging out with a handful of Unity folk today to kind of tell you what's new and exciting in 6.1. James is going to be talking about platform things in just a few minutes here. But before we get into it all, of course, Adam, new to the stream, always exciting to bring on some new folks as well. But can you tell everybody a little bit about your responsibility at Unity? And then, of course, I also know that you've been working as a game dev. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey here?
Indeed. First, though, I want to say that James is being far too humble. James and I have known each other for a very long time, and he's saying that his games are not great. Well, they're great enough to be offered pretty nice floor space at GDC.
Oh, damn.
As far as to demonstrate the capabilities of the indie community on particular platforms in the past. And so James has had quite some success in that world. And I was proud to walk the GDC show floor some years ago and see his game on that floor. So I just want to say that on behalf of James.
Yay!
Oh, Adam.
Honestly, Adam paints a bigger picture where I was like, oh, James, humble, like calm, like small. And then Adam's like, no, that's not right at all. So I feel like I was misled.
Adam is always wonderful at making sure that, things are. In fact, I think, Adam, if I remember, we were at our games were being shown at the show, and we didn't even know that our games were both there.
Yeah, that was a kind of a cosmic coincidence. I also had my side project on the show floor. At the request of a very important partner, which James and I happily discovered that about one another during the event. It was like, oh, that's interesting. But no, thanks for having me, Jackson. And hello to the Unity community. It's incredible to be here today. You are the reason that we do what we do, and we're eternally grateful. I lead our product org, meaning the Unity engine itself, and supporting services and technologies that are meant to be a seamless, frictionless experience that allows you to build games that reach the most players possible, and in as easy as ways we can make it for you. I've been at Unity for 10 years now. A decade came and has gone pretty fast. It seems like it's happened overnight, but I joined Unity all those years ago as an individual contributor in a role called the Developer Relations Manager, where I was responsible for looking over the technical relationship between Unity and very key partners on some of those earlier projects that really were the marquee projects that made the world kind of look at Unity and say, oh, that studio is using Unity. That's amazing. So that was quite the experience. James also was in that same role many years ago as well. So that's how we came to know one another a long time ago. The reason I pursued this industry as a 12-year-old in 1993, all 12-year-olds should be playing Doom, of course, but that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing back on DOS when I was 12 years old. Doom made me kind of say, oh, games can be something different than just 2D side scrollers. And it was just a different world we were moving into. And then after Doom 2 came about, a little smarter, a little more hands-on experience, then started modding Doom, accidentally discovered what .wad packages are. WAD meaning where's all the data. That's their data container type. And started building my own mods of Doom as a kid and was very inspired. But as I got into university, I didn't major in computer science. I was actually a music major, as you can probably tell. I'm a huge music fan. And I wanted to pursue the audio side of the game industry. And that's how I pursued my way in. But after having done that, ended up more on the production side of things. And as Unity was first coming to market, the studio that I was working at in Orange County, California, in Irvine, we were using proprietary engines and other engines to build games. And but we saw what Unity was doing with the cross-platform capabilities that it was pursuing. And it was a very interesting proposition to say, if we can have one code base that we can compile for all the platforms that we care about, that's going to allow us to go beyond just a Windows PC game studio. But what was interesting was in the earlier days, Unity was a Mac OS only engine. A lot of people who've come to the community later don't realize that, but it did not have Windows OS or Windows build support early on. But in Unity 2.5, when it had Windows support, we were able to officially greenlight on it. Built a game, shipped it on Unity 3, and then I realized how much Unity had changed my career in ways that I could never pay back. And so, I decided I wanted to be a part of that. And so I actually started my own independent Unity kind of consulting company for a couple of years. And then one day Unity messaged me and said, hey, we hear you're working with these studios. We would love for you to come start our developer relations department for us. And that team is still running today. It's called Partner Relations. But that's how I found my way to Unity. And throughout the years here, the last 10 years, I've been working very hands-on with studios and have been a part of teams that have been very hands-on with studios. And so it's been a pleasure to be a part of these projects and to continue being part of the community. And as James does, I still continue to be a customer of Unity myself, building games on nights and weekend. And it's still very much my passion. So wonderful to be with you all today.
Adam, great to have you. Of course, the Unity community is alive and well in the chat here. And I have to say they have unified to encourage you to play something on guitar. We're not going to ask you to do that, but I just want you to know that that's what the people really want. As we kind of explore James's background a little bit, Adam, I know your room and your background, your setting is rife with collectibles. Do you want to grab one single thing that you want to show off above all else?
There's two pride and joys in here, I suppose. Are we really doing this? Is that
we can? Happening? We got show and tell time. You know what I mean?
Oh yes, I am loving this. Show
and tell.
This is my 1956. For all you guitarists out there, this is my 1956 pre-CBS Stratocaster, serial number 12057. I can't believe we're doing this right now. and then on the really, I guess, I think it's cool to be a nerd. My pride and joy in my comic collection is my Amazing Fantasy 15 first appearance of Spider-Man. So it's like I'm a big nerd in that way. But those are the couple collectibles that I think most people kind of turn their head at when they come in my home office.
Yeah, it raises an eyebrow. So I'm glad everyone got a moment to see the guitars up close because people were really excited. Also, a lot of praise for Pink Floyd in the chat as well. But I'm always excited to bring new people to the community and connect everybody like this. So getting to know you a little bit is part of the process. So I really appreciate you guys hopping on, joining us, and agreeing to kind of share not just about your work, but about yourselves and your past and your history and your journey. So very, very excited to get into this with you all because it's 6.1 launch day. It's 6.1 launch day. Adam, I want to kind of hand you the reins just a little bit here, because I know that you have a lot that you want to be able to discuss and chat with the community about. So where do you want to get started with it all?
I actually prepared a few slides just to talk about the community and what they mean to us and what we want to enable to them for them. And when I say for them, I also mean people like ourselves. James and myself. We remain parts of the community, as do most people at Unity. I think at Unity we haven't always done the best job of highlighting how we actually use our own technology ourselves. Want to talk a bit about how we're focusing more on that ourselves to verify that what we're bringing to Unity on behalf of all of you is solving the problems that you need us to solve for you, but we're doing it in a way that's verified to work at a production scale. So if it's okay, I am going to, I can share my screen. It's okay if I steal the screen?
Absolutely. The floor is yours. We've set the stage.
Okay.
Feel free to step into your spotlight.
Share screen. All right. And I believe the world should be able to see this. Is that a good assumption? Everybody can see?
We gotcha.
All right.
Punch into big mode.
All right. We'll do that.
And we're following along.
Yeah. As we were saying earlier, and then our goal is to enable all of you to build the largest community of passionate players and gamers as possible. We want to do that by enabling you to have the highest performance runtime experience on your end user device, the player experience itself to be as performant, optimized, and stable, so that if you're shipping cross-platform, even on mobile, we're helping you address the ecosystem of hardware that's harder to identify, so that whatever your minimum spec device range is, that you can reach the most players by us allowing you to have the most flexible rendering that achieves the majority of graphical and artistic and stylized capabilities in a high performance way that reaches the most devices. We want to, with powerful workflows for engaging games, what we mean by that is we want to create workflows for you that are high fidelity, that are iterative, that are enabling you to assemble technologies that allow you to create that player experience. And we're also moving into a world, we have moved into a world. I mean, let's be real. We've moved into a world where even single player games oftentimes have as many back-end complexities as multiplayer games. Almost all successful games now have a back-end component for social connectivity or database interactivity and interoperability. And we want to make sure that we're enabling all of these things to be true for you in a way that allows you to create the best player experience possible and assemble the largest audience possible. What's new is we want to do this through a new methodology that we've implemented internally that we call production verification. If I accidentally say the acronym PV, that means production verification, and we'll talk about what that is in just a moment. But what we want to allow you to do is to start with an idea and go all the way through the entire development life cycle. This is how I think of it, from concept to prototype. In traditional game industry, green light, many studios and publishers still require that. And then into the publishing workflow, where content enters this cycle where you're producing new content, you publish it, you launch it, you operate it, you build your player community in that cycle. And that cycle, once you find success, that cycle never ends. We want to enable you with the tools that allow you to operate your game seamlessly once in live operations. Our partners at Unity and the team that we call Grow on the monetization side, we want to enable you to have great business success for yourself and your studio so that you can continue investing in your player base, accelerating that game, expanding that game, while also thinking about the next concept that will allow you to expand to new devices, a new audience, a new genre that you've wanted to tackle. So we want to make sure that we provide that. We've gone through this experience. You see two individuals there, Laurent Gibert and Marc-André Ferguson. They presented the Unity roadmap last month last month now at GDC 2025. The roadmap session was absolutely packed. It was very, very full. It was a long line to get in. The video on YouTube now of the session is just so highly engaged with. We've had so many hundreds of thousands of people participate in learning and what is in that roadmap, and we're so thankful that you've engaged with us that way. We've come from a season of life where things were very difficult, but as we went into Unite Barcelona last year, the community vibe was just so incredible and so gracious to us. That took us strongly into GDC last month. And then just last week, I had the opportunity to be in Seoul, Korea, with our team there and our community there. And the relationship between our team in Korea and throughout all of Asia and all around the globe with the community is just so inspiring. I wanted to share just a few images from the event last week. This was our kind of headline slide for Unite last week in Seoul, but this was quite a while before the keynote doors opened. I mean, it was bizarre. We had been in rehearsal, and then we came out, and I was coming down the elevator, and you felt like the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl. It was just absolutely incredible to see the crowd lining up that early to get a great seat at the keynote event. And it was just so inspiring to be so welcomed by the community. And the message that we gave to the community last week on stage in the keynote was the same message I just delivered to all of you moments ago about what we want to enable. And it was just so incredibly well received. That line, if you can see through the middle of the screen there, was the line to get to our swag shop. The community was just so excited to represent our gear and being a part of the Unity community. And that was just amazing in itself. This is, Minsuk, who leads our Unity Korea operations, coming on stage, being greeted by the audience. Matt, our CEO, who's been with us for about a year now and has been a tremendous force in helping us re-engage with the community in the way that the community deserves to be engaged with. I had the absolute opportunity to represent how we're working very closely with studios like Kinetic Games on Phasmophobia to further the capabilities and increase the production quality of tools such as Unity Build Automation. We've done a lot of hands-on work with studios like Black Salt Games, where we collaborated in a co-development fashion to bring their game to Android 4K native resolution at 120 frames per second, utilizing the latest advancements we've made in terms of cross-platform high performance. So it's just really amazing to get to be a part of that. And then we began talking a bit about our support strategy, which actually maybe we'll hold on that for now, because I think that we'll probably owe some minutes to that specifically. So I'll take a break there. I'll stop sharing my screen, but one of the things I do want to say is that we hear there's a very long-running community ask of us where there's been this outpouring saying, Unity, please use your own tools in production. And last week, I had the opportunity to also to represent the fact that Unity has built its first game ever end-to-end. We developed, designed, produced a full title in partnership with our great partners at Konami, a game called Survival Kids. And if you look at our latest media and news outlets, you will see that. But the reason we did that was to pressure test our latest innovations, our latest platform support capabilities, and ensure that the tools that we've had to date that aren't fully optimized, they don't reach maximum performance for your needs, that we have a place to test in an actual game development setting that we have internally that's not kind of a test project or an experiment, but a real game production in partnership with a wonderful partner like Konami. And that game's going to be coming to life on June 5th very soon, so we're excited about that. But the key message is we want to enable you to build the largest audience. We want to enable you to reach the most devices. We want to abstract the complexity of live game development. We want you to be able to go from concept all the way into commercializing your game, going through the publishing process and the live operations cycle frictionlessly. And at the end of the day, we want you to be able to provide the most fun to the most players globally. That's what we're here to do. And the big change in this Unity 6th generation is our production verification methodology that allows us to reach higher quality in this Unity 6th generation in a way that we know works at scale in a full game production environment, because we are working with partners just as like the ones I described and many more to do just that, so that we can make the engine all it can be on behalf of you, because that's what you deserve. So that was a long-winded soliloquy there. So thank you for bearing with me.
No, I think it's important, right? Like, we've seen people fervorishly in chat being like, I want to learn, I want to know more, I want to know more. But I think what's always important about the live streams, or what's advantageous about the live streams, is we can tell people how and why and talk about the journey, right? Like if anyone wants to go and just check out the notes, we've been posting the blog link. You can go and get your very condensed version. But if you want to hear the method to the madness, so to speak. Let's not, maybe we don't call it madness, but you know what I mean? Like if you want to know the behind the scenes and how we get here, then this is an opportunity to do exactly that. We are, of course, going to dive into the release cadence and support structure. We're going to talk about platforms, and we're going to be talking about new features as well. So thank you all for being here. Again, if you have questions, please let us know. We're going to try and address as many as we can. However, if we don't get to your question, feel free to follow up in discussions after the stream, where we will have people paying attention and getting ready to answer. I also saw a comment. I'm still upset about what happened to Gigaya. I wasn't here, so I don't actually know how to pronounce. Thank you very much. That game looks so good. What I think is wild is that with the announcement of Survival Kids, that timeline almost aligns, right? Where that one project went away and we started working on another one, but we couldn't say a word about it publicly. Now for it to finally be announced and revealed, and we're very, very excited about that. And we do have some live stream content that we're working on to bring a little bit more behind the scenes and breaking down that project. And I think, again, very, very important to get this message across that yes, Unity is using its own tech. We've been dogfooding for years, even if we weren't able to talk about it until the last couple of months. So all of that being said, Adam, thank you for kind of setting the stage here. I do want people to know about the release and the support schedule. I think it's very important. I think we have an opportunity to kind of clarify everything. I want to kind of throw things back to you and kind of give you that opportunity to make sure everyone's aware, because I've already seen questions. Is this an LTS? Like where are we in the process? So let's kind of set the record straight if we can.
Sure. Let's tackle that right now. I will once again share.
Sounds great.
All right. Here we go. All right. And oops, sorry.
You are all good.
There we are. You can see me now. I'm full screen and good to go.
You are all good. We've got your content on screen.
Okay, great. So thank you. So 2022.3 to start there. It's been one of these beloved versions of Unity, and we're so grateful for that. You know, we're some years into that version, and it is coming to its end of supported life. And so 6.0 will be fully in this LTS mode that you see here throughout the year and into 2026. And you know, towards the end of the year, we're going to bring Unity 6.3 out, which is going to be the next LTS version. We will be supporting 6.1 as of today, 6.2 when we arrive there as well. Those will be supported along the way. The naming convention change, where we've gone from Unity 5 into the more annualized 2017, 2018, 2019, and then back into the more the integer value with 6 being the current generation. It's created some confusion, so thank you for bearing with us on that. We're working to ensure that our messaging is more clear on this going forward. But this paints the picture. 6.1, 6.2 will be supported along the way to 6.3, where we will have 6.0 and 6.3 concurrently in that season of life as the LTS versions of Unity. And then once 6.3 is shipped, as you can see, we will be supporting those versions that are between 6.3 and the next LTS, because you can clearly see there the beginning of the supported life of the 6.4. But that's the way that it is going to work. It's going to be very close to what you've understood for quite some time. Our naming convention changed from the annualized versioning to back to a Unity 6, just the integer value with point releases. It's created some confusion. So I hope that's more clear to everyone. So I mean, that's simply it. James, is there anything that you would add to that?
No, just to highlight that nothing, and even though these kind of the way that we've announced this is slightly different, nothing changes from a support perspective that you would expect along the way from using Unity in production, especially from us on the platforms team, where we want to make sure that you have all the tools you need to be able to ship on every platform, pass certification. That still remains true for every supported version of Unity that's in current support. We're making sure that you're able to get through production as per normal.
Yeah, and I think, Adam, you touched on it really perfectly at the top end of that explanation, as well as that we've seen confusion. So I think that it is important that we kind of take this moment and get to exactly the basics and make sure that everyone knows exactly what's going on. So I think that that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Again, the chat asking a number of questions. Keep them coming. We'll look for an opportunity to kind of loop them in to the conversation. If your question is directly topical to what we're discussing, we'll look to answer it when we can. Otherwise, we might delay it to later in the show. Or if you would like, head on over to discussions where we have a Q&A that's active right now with people that are have dedicated their time to being in there with you all and responding to those questions and making sure you guys are aware, informed, and excited about 6.1. I think it's going to be really, really cool. Is there anything else that we needed to touch on about the release support schedule, that plan? Is there anything else, Adam, that you wanted to discuss while we have the time?
No, it really it really boils down to that. It comes down to us being more clear in our messaging about what the support cadence is, and I think it is as simple as that. I mean, if there are further questions in the chat that want to drill into some particulars there, that's great. But really, the news is there's not just like a whole lot of change that we think is quite seismic. The thing that we would advise, though, is thinking about what your upgrade plans are, and whatever your methodology and philosophy is on that. When you think about a version like 2022.3 coming to its end of support life, we always encourage you to be thinking and have as a part of your milestone planning what your upgrade time frame is. And so I have very excitedly, I'm on the East Coast of the US. And so I very excitedly at 11 a.m. when we launched Unity 6.1, I installed it in the hub. I'm happy to say my rather large HDRP dots personal project, that's the FPS genre, imported cleanly with no no console errors. So I'm really, really happy to see that. But you do need to be thinking about your version of Unity and planning for that now. And we're happy to help you in that way, however we can, whether that's through social forums, the Unity forums, whatever it may be. But we're here to help you understand what the right version of Unity is for you. I've just gone to 6.1 myself, and I'm looking forward to taking that for a test drive myself tonight.
That's awesome. And maybe we can get you to elaborate a little bit more, or at least spend a little moment on it as well. Because Mendissa says, makes it a little tricky to choose a prior stable patch. Unity 6 was a midstream release. So just in terms of the stability and the process, like you said, you just did it yourself. What can people expect from 6.1?
Well, I guess to talk about a bit of history, the way that I'll flavor my answer to that is just looking at it through a historical lens. James, I'm going to tag you in here to give your perspective as well, because James and I, we were part of the same team for many, many years. And we were both the responsible technical owner for the technical day-to-day between ourselves and very notable partners. I don't know that we can mention them here, but part of what we did in that role, developer relations, was plan with these partners what that upgrade cycle is, the time of year, the version of Unity, and why. What I would be thinking about myself for the general community, the same as I've done with my own personal project, is moving to 6.1. Because when we made the shift from the 22 era to Unity 6, there's just a lot of underlying change there. And you'll probably notice that we're not here just going on and on about the new shiny features over and over. 6.1 is about quality, performance, optimization, stability. We've heard loud and clear you want us to optimize what we have to make sure it's all it can be, rather than just having a flood of new headlines related to new features. You want us really to optimize what we have. And so for 6.1, that was the focus, was taking what we learned from all of you about 6.0, what was working great, what wasn't, what had opportunity to improve. And so 6.1 is all about the quality, performance, optimization, stability focus of what we have, as was desired on 6.0, to make 6.1. Ideally, we're always trying to make our latest versions of Unity the best ever. And I feel like we're on that path. That journey will never quite be done, but we've really listened. So we've implemented programs such as production verification to make it all it can be. So 6.1 is where I would be thinking right now as you're planning that upgrade. And what that allows for, if you were to wait to 6.3 to take that LTS version, then you're going to have a larger generational leap from 2022.3 to 6.3. Performing that upgrade now to 6.1, which is far higher quality than the 6.0, and we're so proud of that. That's derived from the feedback and the bug reports and the optimization opportunities you've signaled for us. That will provide a lot of the heavy lifting that will be required for you to get to the 6.3 version when it arrives. And so you can go ahead and begin that journey now, be on a supported version of 6.1, take that journey from 6.1 to 6.2 into your LTS, which will be 6.3. So that would be the historical outlook I give on that. James, you probably have a perspective on that as well, given the way that you've worked with partners yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I think those of us who have been around and have made games in very, very early versions of Unity, and I know Adam and I are both in that camp there. I think if you've been around a long time, you definitely should notice that there is a dramatic difference in what it took to upgrade a project from, say, 3 to 4 and 4 to 5, and in the world that we're in now with Unity 6, because it was a common complaint, right? We heard this a lot. We worked with, especially if you had large scale projects with a lot of complexity in them. I'm not going to lie, it was painful for a lot of people back in the day of moving between versions. And so a lot of what we focused on, as Adam has said, is like, how do we make Unity the highest quality version that we can make it, so that we can give the trust to developers that if you're going to take your project and it's a live living thing and you want to be able to take those new versions of Unity, that it has to upgrade well and it has to work in production setting, because otherwise, like, we're not serving our customers well. And that's why really each generation of Unity is just getting better and better and better at that, as we double down on quality and double down on production verification. And that's part of the reason why something like Survival Kids is so important, that we use the entirety of Unity 6 to make a game from start to finish at scale on the platforms that our developers are going to develop to, whilst we're feeding all of this back during the as we go through the process. And there are teams like Adam and ours and others that are constantly working with studios, getting that feedback and getting it into the engine to make those upgrades more seamless. And I think we've really achieved that with the Unity 6 generation, especially 6.1.
That's awesome. And I again, thank you both for kind of clarifying, expanding upon, sharing. The questions continue to roll in, gang. We're going to try and get to as many of them as we can. Again, those of you looking for what's new in terms of a features perspective, that will come shortly. We're going to be talking about platforms in just a moment here as well. So thank you all for your patience as we kind of have a lot to discuss today, even if it initially seems like that might not have been the case. I do want to bring in a couple of questions here from the YouTube chat. Ahmed Mustafa says, if I have a 2 to 3 year project starting right now, should I go with 6.0 or 6.1, and why?
James, you can go first, or I can. I mean, I have a clear opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with 6.1 all day long. Like it's the latest, up to date, most stable, highest quality version of Unity there is. So I would be starting my project there.
Yeah, we've seen people. Okay, good. We're aligned. Good. It would have been weird if you both like disagreed right now. It's like we're trying to give advice and we've got conflicting advice. But we've seen a lot of people kind of asking around these things and chasing around them. So I think that's great. We also had a question here from Hunt120. Sorry for asking again. I guess you don't need to apologize. We got here in the end anyways. Would 6.1 have issues with assets that were made for 6.0?
No. You know, one of the things that I'm so proud of, I think we're all proud of, when you think about the Unity games, take yourself out of the developer seat and put yourself in the player seat. How many games that are made with Unity are over a decade in live operations successfully, with player bases of hundreds of millions of monthly active users? There's just so many titles that are built with Unity, unlike any other technology that I can think of, that are a decade plus in live operations, and they've been able to transcend with these same assets from many of these projects that have lived on for a decade plus. They kind of began on this like very classic version of Unity. There was like 3.2 and 3.5 where the world started really looking at Unity, and many of these games began life there, and they've been able to transcend hardware, operating system generations. They've been able to transcend the introduction of new platform and new types of hardware, GPS-based gameplay, the introduction of consumer level, virtual reality, back when the DK1 and the like the Vive Pre, virtual reality sets were coming out. But when you go back to those games, what's true about them all, when you find success with the Unity game, that game tends to just live on forever. And we're so excited about that. But what's amazing about that is those games with the assets as they are, there's many games that you're playing today where that asset journey began back in Unity 3 and even Unity 2 in some cases. And we've been able to work with partners in the community to bring these games all the way through these generational shifts. So not only the Unity version generational shifts, but the hardware, platform, operating system, ecosystem as well. And so your assets authored for Unity 6, we're going to believe are going to also find great life in Unity 6.1 and beyond.
That's awesome. I think personally, I underestimated the number of questions that we would get about each of our topics. So I do want to be cautious of time here, as I know we're already running later than we'd like. But I do want to bring in one more question. I'm going to kind of combine two because I think it's an important thing that we can clarify in this moment. So Ahmad Mustafa also follows up and says, so why 6.0 if it's not getting bug fixes? What is the meaning of long-term support then? And what is the meaning of support exactly? Can we explain a little bit more? And we have Schmolin on the YouTube side also saying, if I have a 2-year-old project, I'm using Unity 6.0 due to the support of LTS. 6.1 will not be supported after 6.2 release, and we'll have to upgrade mid-development. Can we just elaborate a little bit more on what we mean when we say that 6.0 will be supported on a longer timeline? It doesn't, while people are shifting to 6.1, it doesn't mean that 6.0 is not getting that support. Where is the kind of differentiation there?
Yeah, so basically, so when an LTS version, the way that we've always used that nomenclature, like when we release it, it has a 2-year lifespan. For the majority of people, there is a 3-year lifespan for LTS versions for those who are on enterprise licenses, or those who have particular different needs, because there are different license tiers and also things that exist outside of the gaming world for Unity use cases there. But generally, when something releases, if we consider it an LTS, it's going to be in support for 2 years, even if another one drops. So when 6.0 is out, then you've got 6.1, you've got 6.2, which we've often had multiple LTS versions in constant support. So just because we've released a new version in 6.1 does not mean we're going to stop supporting the additional until it goes end of support, which is 2 years for pro customers and below, and 3 years for enterprise customers.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's just important we can provide as much clarity as we possibly can. Gang, in the chat here, if you have more questions for the team, please follow up on discussions there. We have a Q&A that's live and will be addressed. We already have people in there responding to some questions, so that's fantastic. But I want to take our time and I want to transition over here, James. I want to kind of give you a little bit extra spotlight here as our platforms guru. And I want to talk about platforms a little bit. So what is the platforms team really been focusing on for Unity 6.1 and even beyond that?
Yeah, so I guess from a platforms perspective, I'll just give a little bit of flavor before I talk some specifics. So from the platforms team, our focus has always been to build stable, performant runtimes and editor. And I think we've done that, right? We're good at this now. We've been making the runtime on over 24 platforms now for the lifetime of Unity. But as somebody who makes games myself, and others have said, like, we wanted to go beyond just making a build, right? I don't want Unity to just be the place where you create your dot whatever it is or package and upload it to a store and we're like, cool, see you later, have fun with your game. What we're actually trying to do now is go beyond that build. So our focus has really been on the key issues that people have been reporting to us about developing multi-platform games and going between platforms. And there's really been sort of 2 major themes that came out over the last few years of talking to developers. And that is, the first one is make it easier for us to ship on the platforms that we target. We want to reduce down the amount of friction getting to those platforms, easier to onboard into new platforms. And I want to be able to take my project to as many platforms as possible and be able to target new platforms that are coming out. And the second one is iteration time. I think everybody wants faster iteration time, not just in the editor. And of course, we have our scripting teams and others who are looking at how we can reduce down iteration time between code changes, asset changes in the editor. But it goes beyond that to, if any of you are working on console platforms, for example, or you're even publishing to a physical device, you know that there is a turnaround time backwards and forwards as you're publishing, testing. So our focus is now like, what more can we do to try and help bring these new platforms and also make the experience better for multi-platform developers? And I think we've really started that in the 6th generation. You'll see 6 is when we brought in new features such as build profiles. And build profiles, for example, have really helped developers be able to quickly deploy between different platforms and different builds that they might want. For example, you might want to have your demo build and your vertical slice and your QA build, this level for QA, the gold master, all those kind of things. And so being able to manage and control all those without having to build your own systems to do it and your own custom scripting and build pipelines and things like that, which everybody had to do before, has been a major win for developers. And we've got things like the platform browser came in. So there was a lot of people wanted to be able to get up to speed on platforms quicker. So we kind of do a lot of the front-facing work for you, make sure the right packages are installed, make sure that we're now getting to the point where we're auto-configuring certain settings, making the environment easier to get up and running on those platforms. So I think our focus is that and more. We've actually got some really exciting stuff in the works, which unfortunately I will look forward to telling you more about later. But in 6.1, we've brought in a whole bunch of new things, which for those targeting platforms. Obviously, you've seen Android XR. People are really excited about getting up to work on Android XR and the workflows we've brought in for that. And of course, there's more improvements and investing in existing platforms such as MetaQuest, which we've got on the XR side. But yeah, it's really about how can we make it easier to get people onto these devices. And it goes beyond platforms, actually. We've done it with what's been really interesting is the graphics improvements that have been made across the board as well. I think if any of you have used, I mean, I started to use like the GPU resident drawer and spatial temporal processing. And it's incredible that you can just click a button and get extra performance, which for those who were struggling to maybe get their title to work on more limited hardware, has enabled like more people to get onto devices they couldn't previously target in a previous generation of Unity because there was too much complexity in the game, or they were just struggling to do the optimization needed to hit that performance envelope. So bringing out things like this, I think, is really important for our developers. I just want to keep like reducing the friction to get to platforms and really help people get to publishing quicker. That's what we're really focused on.
And I think that's fantastic. I think the one thing that we're continuously trying to hammer home here for people is stability, flexibility, really just kind of being as accommodating of basically addressing the needs of the users who have come to us and kind of shared those pieces of their concerns or their feedback, which I think is really, really important here. Is there anything else for 6.1 that people can expect that we haven't already touched on?
Well, I think there's actually a lot in 6.1 that just come out, like, and I appreciate like we don't have a huge amount of time. I would urge for those who haven't seen it, there is the talk that was given at GDC by Marc-André and others. Like there is the complete roadmap, which goes into like a lot of detail about every single specific feature that we've got. But I think thematically, what we're really trying to talk about here today is that our focus is on really driving that quality and stability within there and hitting that production verification. I mean, everything that we're building in the platforms team now, and I'm excited to talk about some of these things, we want to get them through and pass on certification on platforms. Like we're actively targeting this stuff so that the idea being that, you know, when we release these new features, you can trust that they will actually go through the certification processes that you want, that you need to pass to get your games out there. And we've kind of done that with survival kits, which of course was built using a lot of this tech. I mean, there's lots of individual things like, you know, we're obviously making improvements across the board. Web is one of the big areas that we've been investing in recently. I know I saw a question come in about, are we continuing to invest in web GPU? The answer is yes, we are continuing to invest in that. Yes. I really see web as it's hitting a bit of a resurgence at the moment, and a lot of people are coming to us with really interesting use cases, not just in gaming, but outside of gaming as well. I've been talking to companies who are building web game portals, who are interested in seeing what Unity can bring there. And so with 6 point, like, with 6.0 and 6.1, like we really doubled down on building out new features for web. And the one piece of feedback that really we heard loud and clear from people was web needs to be faster. It needs to load faster. The build sizes need to be smaller. Right now, the WebGL player that we had, the legacy WebGL player, isn't fit for the need that we want to use it for. So what we focused on with 6 was, how do we like reinvigorate web, bring new technologies to the table to make web even more performant than it ever was before. But with 6.1 sees the release of the work that we're doing on our code stripping tools, which will be available soon. And those code stripping tools are about taking the web player and stripping out everything from the WASM that isn't required in there. And the results that we've got from stripping away the WASM, and also at a C# level, when we have a C# stripping tool as well, is like we've got the build sizes in some cases over 50% reduced, and the load times hugely reduced. Like I've seen projects that have gone from sort of 20 plus load seconds down to 4 or 5 seconds in load. So that's just the start. Like we continue to invest in these things. We need web GPU to hit full production. Right now it's available, but it is in experimental. We're encouraging people to go and use it. And you saw, maybe you didn't see, but if you didn't, then go and check out Stratton Studios Project Prismatic, which we showcased at Unite and is now out. It's in a fantastic use case of web GPU running a full-scale game in a browser with the kind of visual fidelity that we couldn't achieve in the previous versions of Unity. And so it unlocks just so many more cool opportunities that people are really going for right now. So and we're doing that across the board. It's not just, I'm highlighting kind of, yeah, we've got Android XR, we've got web, but there are new platforms coming all the time, but it doesn't mean we're also not investing in our existing platforms. There's new improvements across the board with Android. For example, we've got much better support for large screen foldables. We've got support for 16 kilobyte devices, which are now coming. We've got enabling Vulkan graphics jobs and on Android devices. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff, and I could talk ad nauseum for like an hour on all of the new features that we've got across all the platforms, but we don't have time in this stream. So I would highly recommend to go and watch the GDC roadmap and see, which kind of features specifically for which areas are coming, because they went into a lot of detail there, which I think people will.
I think it's great. Thank you so much for the overview. And again, like it's interesting to try and find the right level of detail for things, because it's like you can go into patch notes and get buried in chat and in text, and then you can come here and hear a little bit about the motivations and get the broader overview. Of course, sometimes it takes a little bit of discovery because it's a broad topic and everyone has different needs and requirements. As I saw in chat here, someone mentioning that as it becomes harder to develop on mobile for lower end devices, people are expecting to see, web take over a little bit more. So everyone kind of has these different needs. So it's hard to address 100% of what everyone is questioning. I do want to ask a follow-up question here from Mr. Awesome on the YouTube side. Says, will web GPU support ECS fully?
We are currently investigating that. Like it's another thing that everybody's like, dots please, ECS burst support. And one of the things that there are a couple of restrictions in browsers, basically, because we are dependent on browser technology to be available. Like, for example, another thing that's been asked is C# multi-threading. And of course, we are trying to look at how we do C# multi-threading, and we're currently hitting problems with the garbage collector because that's just the way that these browsers work, right? So we're actively working on these things because we know that people want them, right? And my plan for all of our platforms is I want every platform to be equal. That's where we ideally want everything in Unity to look, right? We talk about build once, deploy everywhere. So that for that to be true, you need to be able to build your game using all of our technology stack in a desktop environment and be able to publish that to a web environment and expect all of those features to work as they do in a desktop environment. And I believe that is a totally fair perspective for developers to ask us, and that's where we want to get to. We're not there yet. We still have a lot of work to go, but I hope that we're showing that with each version of Unity that we release, we're adding more and more towards getting us to that goal. And that is the goal for the web team, is to get it up to the same level as every other platform in Unity.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always an interesting thing as well to kind of see like where we are versus where we're going, and each time we step in to say, hey, here's what's new right now, we also like to kind of say, and here's where we're planning to go next, and here's where we would like to go. Is there anything that you'd like to touch on in terms of like what the future for platforms is, what people can hope to expect in the near future here?
Yeah, so there are still a number of challenges about multi-platform development, especially if you're working on closed platforms. We are working on a number of systems basically to try and reduce down the time it takes for you to get from a build through to publishing. We want to support you across that entire journey. We're actively working on technologies now. And I think you're going to hear more at Unite. I would love to talk more today. I really would, because I have something so very exciting that I think the community is going to love, but we're not ready to talk about it yet. And the reason is, and I'm not saying that as a kind of teaser or something, it's like we just want to make sure that it's ready, right? So this is doubling down on Adam's point earlier about production verification. I'm not going to release this technology until we've proven that it works on these platforms that we want you to go and use it on. So part of what we're doing is now just, is exactly that, basically. Like, I would love to talk about stuff in the future, but needless to say, I just want everyone to understand that that's the vision. The vision is get you to be able to develop and publish your game on as many platforms as possible, and make sure that we have platform support at the earliest point. Normally on day one, we are there with every major platform that launches. And it's one of the things that people love about Unity, and it's one of the top reasons why people choose Unity, is our multi-platform support and our platform coverage. So it's just to basically confirm with the community that we continue to double down on that, and we continue to build towards that goal of build once, deploy everywhere.
That's awesome. And honestly, that's the future I want to see as well. We're talking about web maybe making a bit of a comeback, which is fantastic. That's how I really got my young gaming time in. That's what converted me to a gamer as a passionate fan. Like, I was young, I didn't have money to get consoles. My parents didn't know what games were. I would go to computer class in the library and find like little flash games, and being able to play on web makes a big difference. And keeping up with some of the things that people have created in Unity for web in the last like couple of years, and we've brought some onto live streams, some of the experiences are incredible. Like, the number of times we had one guest on, Pajama Kasama, to talk about Kasama the Awakening episode 1. When they came in, the number of people in the chat that were like, wait, this is on web, and it happened repeatedly throughout the stream. So like, it's really kind of cool to see the growth in web. Of course, obviously that's not the entire focus of what we're discussing here with the platforms, and it reaching further, and like you said, being able to make the process easier for people working on those games. So I think very, very exciting things. Is there anything else that we wanted to touch on platforms, James? Otherwise, I know you're a busy human being with many things to do today. We can let you let you dash.
No, I don't think so. I think it's I think it's just we're at a point now where gaming is kind of, the gaming landscape is changing, right? And we're seeing this a lot, that people are not, that there's a shift in the way that people are consuming content and interactive entertainment. There's very much a shift through an entire generation of people that have grown up with short form content. Like, old people like me did not grow up with that. We had a very different way of engaging with interactive entertainment. And you can see there are major shifts in the way that even major companies want to be able to get their games out to as many screens or as many devices or as many form factors. There's new stuff coming in all the time. And so it's one of the things I love most about the job that I have, is making sure that we are there, and that we are working with our partners to make sure that we know where people want to go, and building this tech, because we're kind of just building the tech, and you guys are out there making really incredible stuff with it. And that is the bit that I love the most, is like seeing the crazy cool things that people go and use our tech in ways I'd never even considered. And I think Adam and I have been have had the wonderful pleasure of like working in so many different industries with Unity, and just seeing like I'd never even thought that was possible. Everything from I never imagined a world where there would be Unity powering vehicles, but here we are. And new cars now with Unity as the dashboard, which is incredible. And so yeah, things are changing, but I'm excited that we're going with it and making sure that we provide all of the tools to let developers go to all of these exciting new opportunities.
That's awesome. Before I let you go, there was one question that came in, really simple, really to the point. Anthony Madden inquiring about if we will ever see WebXR support. Is that something that we're able to talk about? Keeping in mind that there's a lot of things down the line that we're not allowed to say anything around.
I can tell you we are actively investigating it right now.
There you go. That was a little.
I can say investigating. I'm not like it's one of those things that comes up a lot when I go to places. Like people are asking, "Hey, what are we doing with WebXR? Hey, what are we doing with WebXR?" And so it's like with most things, I'm trying to identify what do people want to do with WebXR. Where does it make sense for Unity to play a role in that, and try and figure out what it is that we need to build. Like with most things, if there's customer demand and there's developer demand for these things, then we want to make sure we're there. I'm not ready to make a commitment on it yet, but we are actively investigating it for sure.
Perfect. And I would say that's the right way to approach that. No promises have been made. We've expressed that things have been looked at, and that's what we like to hear. So, James, with that, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insight, for your knowledge, for all of your experience and sharing it all with us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And we'll hopefully see you again in the future here when you have more to share with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Always good.
Always a pleasure. I'll be on your way next week.
See you later.
All right, James, have a good one. And with that, everybody, we are going to get to the part of the stream that many people have yelled at me to get to. We're on our way. We're going to be talking about our 6.1 features here in just a moment. We cannot do that without our next guest. Please put your hands together. I suppose your digital hands, smash your keyboard is what I'm asking you to do, to welcome Marc-André Ferguson to the stream. Marc-André, welcome on in. Of course, Marc-André has been in the YouTube chat, answering some of the questions, addressing some of your concerns. He's seen the excitement around the new animation system, which is very cool as well. Also, shout out to C. Stratton on the Twitch chat who smashed the keyboard to welcome you here. Marc-André, how has your day been so far?
It's been amazing. This is really, really exciting. Thank you, Adam, for the shout out earlier. That moment at GDC a month ago, but it seems like forever ago already, where there were hundreds of people, hundreds of you that were there to listen to Laurent and I represent all the great work that everyone here is doing. And I thought, okay, this is interesting, a live stream, and there's so many of you asking great questions in the chat. I was really happy to dig in. So really excited to be here to talk about a bunch of stuff that are coming in 6.1. I can reiterate what James said, which is we have the whole roadmap presentation where we went into details on everything that we're working on, everything that you probably didn't know about 6.0 already, things that are coming in the future. I did want to highlight some of the stuff that's coming out in 6.1. I've got a few slides to do that, but thank you for all showing up today, and we're happy to answer your questions either in the chat here or in discussions right after this live stream.
Yeah, of course, Marc-André, you have so graciously agreed to share even more of your time in the discussion. So again, we keep posting the link there. If we don't get to your questions here, as we have such a limited time with our guests, please feel free to bring them over there and we'll try and find some more answers for you. Before we really dive into things, this new animation system, people are really excited about it. I know that I guess it is something that we're planning to talk to. So you know what? I'm just going to shut up and let you take the lead on this, Marc-André. Are you ready to dive right into slides? Is there anything else you want to
I can talk to the animation system because I don't have a slide for this. Because
okay, great. That's kind of what I was hoping to set the stage for. Yeah,
it's not coming out in 6.1. I know many of you are expecting it. If it wasn't clear when we did the presentation a month ago, we're still working on it. It's a huge piece of work. It does several new things. There's a brand new state machine that will help with the spaghetti madness that you can get with Mechanim and new animation controllers. It's really It's really a big piece of software that we've been working on for a while now. And we're really looking forward to launching it. The thing that's new that we talked about at GDC is that it will be available in the Unity 6 timeframe. And so what we did ask at GDC, and what we're asking again, and I put in the comments, we are looking for people who want to test it. And it is going to be ready very soon, at least in experimental form, just to be completely transparent. And the product manager, Eric Jasinski, on my team is looking for partners to battle test it. And we had, I did a shout out at the roadmap presentation, and many people filed out and went to see Eric directly and said, I want to try it. And so we've got big commercial studios that want to try it. We've got indies that want to try it. It will be able to do, you'll be able to do a whole bunch of things with the new animation system, but it is a big beast, and we want to make sure that it is rock solid before we deem it production ready. But expect it very soon.
Yeah, battle tested is a term that you've used that I've heard in conversations with the people in this room as well. So always a good sign. We do have people curious now if this was something that people were eager to try themselves. Shout out to Turbo Makes Games in chat, along with Sack, and Jihad is here as well. Is that something that they could get involved in directly themselves?
Yes. So there is the discussions is pretty much the best way to reach the animation team. You can find some news about the animation system that were released by Eric in February, and then we did an update at GDC. And there's a link to that we can put in the notes. But it's really easy to find in discussions. You can sign up for that. You can basically raise your hand and say, I would like to try it out. We're building a list of people who want to try the system. Once it's ready in experimental form, you'll be able to download it and try it out. Fantastic. So that should be soon. I can see Eric slacking me already.
Eric's watching. Is like, I don't know what you're saying,
like,
but
what are you talking about?
Yeah. So Eric's about to get a bunch more additional messages. So sorry about that, or you're welcome for whichever one works.
We're very, very excited. It's something that's near and dear to our hearts, and it's something that's very core to games. And when we were looking at this, we thought this is the thing that we want to be able to get in people's hands as soon as we can. But it is a big piece of code, and so we want to make sure that it works well. It's got the performance that you're expecting, and it goes way back with the ECS animation system. There was a lot of development on it, and technical artists that have been battle testing it internally, but also we've had some of you probably participated at Unite last year, where we did some hands-on labs. It's something that we really, really enjoyed. We had people actually try it out, give us some feedback, give us some comments, and we're still working on it. But awesome. Definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to see the energy around it as well. Anytime our community comes here and is excited about something, that makes me very, very happy to see. And kind of referencing Unite and all these community moments, I'm just happy with what I get to do here for work. So we're going to dive in. Obviously, the animation system is for further down the line. What can people get their hands on today? I know people have been waiting. People have been yelling at me that we need to get to it. So, Marc-André, you've gone as far as preparing a couple of slides for us. So I want to kind of give you the moment to talk through everything you need.
Yes. Well, thank you. So I picked out a few things from the roadmap presentation, just to be clear. Reiterating something that Adam said a little while back, we are doubling down on platform partnerships to continue giving you the widest audience in gaming. We're staying focused on maximizing the performance for you to achieve all of the best performance on all of these devices. And that is paired with powerful workflows to make sure that you've got the best features for your best games, whether it's solo games, it's end-to-end live games, and all of this getting production verified through the process that Adam went into. So starting with some of the new optimization features that you can now get your hands on in 6.1, let's start with graphics. So first up, we added the FERD Plus to URP. And so the FERD Plus rendering had been available for HDRP. It is now available for URP. Mind you, it's a very high-end feature in the sense that you're looking for very powerful GPUs to get the benefits from the FERD Plus, but it uses cluster-based light culling, so that improves GPU performance a lot when you're rendering, especially with a large number of lights. Someone one of my PMs said, yes, it has the same limitations as Forward Plus, but if you're trying to light a renovation center, then yes, it probably has that many lights, but usually it will help you with any kind of rendering. It is compatible with your GPU resident drawer and GPU occlusion culling, so your baseline performance will be a lot better, especially when you're doing complex environments. And so just like deferred rendering that we recently optimized for mobile on Unity 6, the deferred plus renders passes and that are merged and run on tile. So this does reduce memory bandwidth usage, and of course it improves battery life. And so improve GPU performance across the board. So looking at URP now and looking at high-end mobile or PC and console. So the other big improvement, variable rate shading that you've probably heard about. It is something that helps you get finer controls over your shading and fidelity and reduce GPU overhead. Usually it's called fragment shading rate, and it allows you to decouple the rasterization of pixels and the pixel shading rate. And so you can now use this new API to control the shading rate of draw calls and scriptable render passes. So VRS is available for Android, for PC, for Xbox, and PlayStation 5 Pro. We have built a new project that you can see on the right there. It's actually animated if you watch the roadmap presentation, but there is a new project that's available, and it shows you specifically how to optimize your URP rendering when you're using VRS. Also, with some other new optimizations that are for URP, we've added shader configuration settings that can help you reduce shader compilation times during project builds. You can enable dynamic branching fog through the URP config asset, and that also reduces your shader build times by up to 50%. And we added LOD crossfade, a new dithering mode called Stencil that can also reduce your build times by 25%. So a lot in optimization, a lot in performance across the board on every platform. On the PC and console rendering performance. So we've been working on DX12 for a while. You saw a lot of improvements that were introduced in 6.0. We've made some more performance improvements, some more new features. And with 6.1, we promoted DX12 as default for graphics. And so when you're improving, you can improve CPU performance with the new split graphics job threading mode. It supports DX12 on Windows and Xbox, and both in the editor and the player. And this new split graphics job allows you to submit commands to the GPU a lot faster, especially if you've got complex projects that have many, many, many draw calls. And so when we were using our profiling samples and on our game projects, we saw up to 40% reduction in CPU time. So a lot of performance enhancements on the CPU. Also, we introduced DX12 PSO caching that also reduces things like stutter times when you're changing levels, when you're entering a new scene. And so you can do PSO tracing and warm-up that we recommend that you introduce so that you can actually pre-cache certain things. And so that is a great enhancement. You can benefit from API level PSO caching for DX12, and this will minimize render stutters and maximum frame time by about 75%, as you can see with the bars in the middle graphic. And last but not least, on the graphics side, a lot of improvements on ray tracing functionality and performance. Solid angle culling, which is now available and will help you avoid processing instances that are too small or distant. This will improve your CPU performance by up to 60%. And this is pretty cool. New optimizations to memory usage, such as BLAS compaction, a new memory allocator. Again, we've seen 75% reduction in ray tracing and memory usage. And last but not least, 6.1 introduces support for compute-driven ray tracing. And again, huge amount of objects, very little CPU overhead. So lots and lots and lots of performance enhancements across the board. This is really the key benefits in 6.1. Switching gears to a couple of features that I wanted to highlight. I think my favorite comment in the in the chat for that I saw on Blue Sky was somebody mentioning that their favorite feature of 6.1 was the fact that it doesn't create an alias on the desktop when you install 6.1. And I thought, see, he said it's the stupid things that make me happy. So
That was the big win. That was the big one.
big win. Yes.
Yeah.
No alias on the desktop.
I like that.
I want to talk a bit about Project Auditor. It's something that we've been following very, very closely for a while, and we're very happy to share with everyone. It was something that a standalone package that's been available for a bit, specifically really, really good at doing fixing some Android issues. So Project Auditor is a static analysis tool. What it does is basically make it easier for you to find and address issues in your Unity projects. It analyzes scripts, it analyzes assets, it analyzes your project settings, your build settings, and then it identifies issues that are commonplace that will cause things like explode your build times or your shader compiling times. And it gives you some clear insights into potential problems. And so one of the things that's really cool is that all you have to do is you click a button and it will just scan your entire project. And it will give you this really clear, structured report. And you can highlight what you need to improve. And then some of these bugs can actually be auto-fixed directly in the Project Auditor. And what was used to feed this was a lot of the work that our customer success teams, our support teams, our engineer teams found when we were doing things like bug fixing for ourselves, for our customers. We just fed that into the auditor. And so it's a brand new tool that lets you really optimize the quality and performance of your game because it will find some common issues. Shader variants, anyone? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that it looks for, and it helps you fix automatically. The other quick fix that we have for optimization, we included Cloud Build in the build profiles now. So it's integrated in the editor. It will let you accelerate your iteration cycles with Cloud Builds, especially for WebGL, Windows and Mac and Android, iOS, and now in beta, Xbox Series. And so if you've got build automation set up and UVCS, what you can do is select the Cloud Build option, and it will automatically create a new build by using your currently active build profile and your remote builder configuration. So it basically streamlines your process by allowing you to build your local changes in the cloud quite automatically. So I could go on. There's a lot in the release notes that you can check out, but these are really the big things that I wanted to call out and highlight in 6.1. Obviously, there's more stuff coming down the pipeline. You saw in that graphic that Adam was showing that 6.2 is coming. Alphas and betas are out. Many exciting features already. I saw people mention MeshLOD. Yes, we have a new LOD generation tool that is in 6.2 that you can already test in the pre-release versions. And WorldSpace UI, somebody was asking about how do I use UI Toolkit for doing XR work. Well, many of you have been asking for WorldSpace for UI Toolkit that is also available in 6.2. So download 6.1. You can use it. It's battle tested. It's ready. 6.2 is already in alpha. Beta is around the corner, and you will have many new features coming down the pipe.
Honestly, very quick. It's like you've done this It's like you've done this presentation a few times, Marc-André. I do want to thank you again. We're not wrapping up, but just for a moment, thank you again for hanging out in the chat during the first portion of the stream and answering that. Also, shout out to Trey, who is our community manager that's in the chat. They walk among you, as well as Rich Fine has popped in as well. We've also got Danny. Thank you to all the Unity folk for being here, engaging with the Unity community, answering questions wherever we can. Going into the feature releases portion of the stream now seems to have opened the floodgates of everyone saying, when is X coming? Is there anything on the horizon that we've not already discussed that you are particularly excited for that you're able to speak about?
While you're gathering your thoughts, Marc-André, is it okay if I just jump in for a second?
Of course.
Okay, so in the keynote last week at Unite, we spoke about aside from just features that are very developer facing to yourselves, it's the core foundation, aside from just the feature workflows in the editor that are so important. So we announced last week that as we're working in parallel with what Marc-André is formulating in his mind to speak to you about right now, we're also going to be doing deeper integrations of ECS just into the engine itself. It kind of gets back to the question that was there for James earlier about ECS for web. And that full capability. It's ECS just more deeply integrated into our own technology so that you have greater performance by default. And so that is something that is happening in parallel that future generations of Unity will benefit from. I know it's, I was scrolling through the YouTube chat a moment ago. There are questions about, is the work to have our .NET modernization with Core CLR implemented in the future? That work is also happening in parallel. So there's all these efforts that are happening in parallel with the release of the Unity 6th generation that will ensure that we're offering you greater performance by default in your core workflows that you have today, in your game object C# workflows that you know and love today. But we're working on that as a parallel path, and we look forward to those finding their way into the versions of Unity that we'll be able to tell you about in the future. But I just wanted to say that we're very conscious of the modernization of our underlying foundation, in addition to the user feature workflows that we're talking about right now. So I just wanted to call that out very quickly.
No, I think it's great. And any opportunity we can kind of hammer home, not only are there new features incoming, but working on the stability of things that already exist and streamlining workflows for people and making things as easy as possible and as reliable as possible. I think it's a good opportunity we need to take. Marc-André, was there anything that jumped to mind as we talked about it?
There's a couple of things that we mentioned in the GDC roadmap that we didn't pin a particular release on. Several reasons for this. We just like our update releases, we want to make sure that our features are ready and are battle tested. Something that I harp on a lot is that these update releases like 6.1, like 6.2 are not tech streams. We want to make sure that the features that we ship are ready and they have been battle tested, they have been production verified. And so it's not like we're launching something that's half baked and we're going to finish later. Or if we do, it's going to be very, very clear we've got experimental stuff, but we don't want to oversell and underdeliver. So and I know I'll get a lot of snarky comments on that, but this is the new Unity. I mean, we've heard you loud and clear. We want to ship stuff that works. We want to ship stuff that will work on for a while. And so things that are coming down the pipeline in UI Toolkit, we've got custom shaders that are coming that will be compatible with shader graph. That's something that's been asked for a long time. Vector graphics in UI Toolkit, it's also coming. I talked about WorldSpace UI for a while. That's up next in 6.2. Along with Meshlod. Meshlod has a long roadmap. We've got a lot of things that we're going to do with Meshlod because it's also something that we believe is key to some projects that people are building, and they're expecting these kinds of tools to be in Unity, and we want to be able to provide them because we have that technology. Accessibility. We're getting full desktop support. We're getting accessibility integration in UI Toolkit. That's also near and dear to my heart. The animation system has been on the docket for a while. It's almost there. A lot of graphics improvements, simple things like Vulkan device filtering, where you'll be able to maximize your performance on certain devices that do support Vulkan. And all of these things are coming, and we're realizing that it's better to make sure that when we do have an update and we have a release like 6.1 today, that it's ready. And if it's not ready, then it can wait. And so you've seen on that roadmap that we presented, we have several update releases coming. So that means you don't necessarily have to wait a full year for one of these features to come out if you're expecting it. And do ask us, do go into discussions, and the stuff that we can talk about, we will talk about. I'll be happy to.
Yeah, I think you kind of, you mentioned it earlier, this is the new Unity, or this is the new way of Unity. And I think practicing what we preach has been really, really important. And I think, sure, even at like the marketing levels, that may be true, but my interactions with each individual person inside of Unity, I think it's so, like, a little peek behind the camera is every single person that I speak to wants to embody that. every single person wants to say, hey, we are going in the same direction and we are going to continue to show you that. And, you know, we've seen some of the people even in the chat today saying like, hey, things feel different, or things feel better, or we're excited, or those types of sentiments. So I want you guys to know in the Unity community that means a lot to us, because people are working really hard to get you to feel that way, to feel confident and feel aligned. So yeah, just a little, I guess, peek behind the curtain, so to speak.
Can we
go ahead.
I just like 20 seconds on one thing that I saw a lot of comments about?
Please.
Like in the YouTube chat that I was looking, there were quite a number of questions about AI. In addition to what Marc-André was just describing, what you will see in the editor in the not too distant future this year is we're going to be adding prompt-based workflows directly in the editor, primarily focusing at the outset on automation of the most repetitive of tasks. How many times have you placed 100 of the same rock or 100 of the same tree, and you've got to go rename all of them based on your own naming convention, rather than rock (1), rock (2), clone, whatever it may be. The ability through prompt to have smart structure and naming conventions, and something such as the hierarchy, for example, for a clean hierarchy structure. Being more precise in the editor about debugging workflows. You have a error in your own managed C# code. You have an incorrect setting for some reason. You've got a red or yellow warning or error in the console. Being able to take that data, put it right in the prompt-based workflow, and have greater insights about why you are encountering that instability or that error, and just right down to solving it through prompt-based agentic assisted type workflows. That is something that you're going to see in the not too distant future. Again, I keep speaking about we're focusing on optimizations that are not only authoring or developer facing or a runtime player capability on a supported platform, but also just, you know, creating a higher quality of life through more AI assisted workflows. So we will have prompt based workflows directly in the editor this year. So we look forward to that.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. And thank you for joining us. For every nugget of insight that you guys are willing to share has been so impactful, and really tells a big story that I think a lot of people will value. And I hope that everyone who attended today's live streams really enjoyed it. Any parting thoughts, any final things that you guys want to make sure either that we're telling people, or just that you kind of want to share about 6.1 today?
I'll just take a moment to just extend a deep personal thank you to the Unity community. Nothing as specific that I want to say is going further than what we've been talking about. You know, I've been a part of the Unity community myself since, you know, the Mac only days. As we said at the outset of this, you know, being able to fully embrace it as a Unity customer back when it first gained Windows support during Unity 2, and it's changed my career and my life on that entire journey. And, you know, people like Marc-André, myself, you know, we remain customers of it ourselves. And so we still want to be as part of the community as much as we are a part of the Unity entity itself. But just thank you for sticking with us over these many years. We're just so grateful that you continue showing up to Unite, GDC, and beyond. And we just look forward to being out there in the studios and on the ground with you at events. And just we're very, very humbled by the Unity community allowing us to do what we do. You inspire us to do what we do. And just thank you for the creativity that you bring to life with our engine and the supporting tools. We're just eternally grateful. So just wanted to say thank you.
Well said, Adam. Well said. Marc-André, you got anything to follow up that?
I want to echo Adam's words and say how grateful I am too. As product managers, we need to meet all of you. We just spent the last several years just meeting customers as often as we could at trade shows and outside of trade shows, having tough conversations with y'all, and thank you all for being honest and keeping us honest, because yes, we've had some ups and downs the last couple of years, and we had some tough conversations. But I think what I liked the most about GDC was the great questions about Unity 6. It's like, all right, now that the past is the past and these business models now make sense to me, let's talk about Unity 6. What can I do with it? And go deeper and deeper in conversations about how we can help, how Unity can help you make the games that you want to make on as many platforms as you can. And that's something that I appreciate personally. So thank you. Keep creative.
Honestly, You crushed that too. Adam, you laid it, and I was like, that's a tough act to follow, but Marc-André stepped up to the plate. I'm really, that was great. You guys crushed it. Well, thank you again, both of you, for joining us. Adam, Marc-André, James as well. You guys have been fantastic guests. Thank you for sharing your time, for sharing your experience, and honestly, for me, sharing your excitement around these types of things. It's really cool to see, and I think it's important for people in the Unity community to see that there's a level of passion, a high level of passion within the people working to bring you these new features and, new releases. So thank you guys very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody.
Of course,
Thanks.
of course. Take care. Again, Unity community, if you have any additional questions, you can follow up in discussions right now. Head over there, ask your questions. I know that there were a lot asked that we couldn't get to during this conversation. Discussions is also going to be your go-to location for everything Unity community. If you have questions, you're looking for collaboration, you want to show off a project, go and check that out. Of course, we are also on the Discord. And not to be outdone, but we do have another stream tomorrow. That's right. I want to thank you all for being here. We are live on this platform, live streaming twice a week, every Thursday in May, every Thursday and Tuesdays. And of course, I want to start doing a game show at the end of each month. So the final Friday is what we'll be striving for. So we've got one tomorrow that I would love for you all to come and check out. We have changed the name from something long and convoluted to Versus Mode, a community game show. This is a game show where you and the audience will have a direct impact and you will be able to control the outcome of the game. We will have a special guest, Code Monkey, going head-to-head against our community manager, Trey. That is tomorrow here on these channels. The link is in chat. Come on back. That will be at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. That is 5 p.m. GMT. Please come and say hello. I would be thrilled to have you all back. C-Stron asking in the Twitch chat, where are we with Clocked and Loaded? Another one is planned for May, so look forward to that as well. Thank you all so very much for being here, for hanging out, for being excited about 6.1, for asking questions of our guests. Unity community, I hope you know you are fantastic. You are exceptional, and I'm so lucky to be here interacting with you once or twice a week. Until I see you all again, my name is Jackson. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.